Hello, I am Paula Bennett and welcome to my podcast, Ask Me Anything. I've gone through plenty of ups and downs in my life and have learned a lot along the way, but now that I've got a midlife crisis reinvention under my belt and I'm aging disgracefully, I know it's never too late to learn something new. That's why on this podcast, I talk to Kiwis from all walks of life to hear about how they got to where they are and get some advice and guidance on some of life's biggest questions. Today's guest is very hard to introduce in one short sentence. I'm going to give it to you Twitter style. Here we go. She is an entrepreneur, broadcaster, author, storyteller, creative director, and executive mentor. She's involved in sports, music, digital media. We've seen her on the telly as an advisor on The Apprentice and as a contestant on Celebrity Treasure Island. And she made an appearance on my show, Give Us a Clue. I think she's truly one of a kind. It's the wonderful Cassie Roma. Hi. How are you?
Wow, that is only a Twitter intro if you have subscribed to Twitter Blue.
You'd get my tick. I'd approve ya.
Thanks. That's the sweetest thing anybody said to me in like yonks.
No, I'm going to give you an approval tick. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, do you want the rules of my podcast, Cassie?
I do.
Okay.
Because rules are made up. Yeah. Everything's made up.
That's exactly it. I am allowed to ask you anything, but you don't have to answer.
Okay.
Because that's a rule in life,
like
really,
that.
isn't it?
I kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah. And we do safe space, or as my daughter and I like to call it, it's a no judgy zone.
Ooh.
That would
both of these things are rules for life for me.
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. I was,
Done.
You'd be
easy.
quite
Happy to
into
be
that.
here.
Okay, quick fire questions just to warm up. Favourite book when you were a child?
Oh, when I was a child, I loved The Giving Tree or anything by Shel Silverstein.
Oh, yeah, I know that one. Absolutely, absolutely. If you could eat one meal for the rest of your life, no calories, no guilt, what would it be?
Sushi.
Would
Always sushi.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you spice it up? You wasabi?
Spice it up, but never, ever put any kind of Philadelphia cream cheese kind of happening in there. Just not a fan. Okay. I put that on Twitter the other day and Twitter lost its shit.
It is amazing what Twitter loses its shit at, isn't it?
Well, it's like, really? Of all my 100,000 tweets?
Yeah.
Cream cheese and sushi is what you're going to lose it about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a favourite karaoke? Although you play the guitar, don't you? Quite musical.
Piano, and then I tutu on the guitar. Favorite karaoke? I've been playing a little bit of Elvis Presley lately. My daughter's into Elvis, so just a little bit Elvis. Don't be cruel.
Yeah. He's just got jive, eh? All these years later. Guaranteed.
Hips don't lie.
Suspicious Minds. That's my Elvis one. I just love it. I love it.
Bless his heart. Yep.
Okay, we're going to get into it. There are themes that run really strongly throughout your whole career. One of those is your ability to not compromise yourself and your ethics to get ahead. But we're going to chat about that more in the second half and in the advice column. But the first half is getting to know you a little bit better. Okay. You are a proud, how do you say it, Yankiwi?
Yankiwi, although I'm taking Yank out because we're not doing that anymore. Yeah. Amerikiwi. Yeah, Amerikiwi.
Kiwi. American. No. That's too clever.
More American than Americant.
Yeah.
Very positive over here.
Yeah. That's nice. So you grew up in California, is that right?
I grew up in California, and then I spent most of the, probably 2/3 of the year in California and the other third in a town of 220 in Missouri.
Wow.
Missouri. Mm-hmm.
And sport's a big part of your life. And we actually saw a few of those basketball shots on Celebrity Treasure Island because your dad was basketball, wasn't he?
Oh, he was a professional baseball player. He played baseball for the Los Angeles Dodgers. But if I would have missed those, I would have really been in trouble.
It's neat seeing the different sports coming into New Zealand more as well, I think. You can see the influence, cool. Yeah, very much so. So what was it like growing up with a dad that's a pro baseballer? I mean, is it just heaps of time in the field and running around stadiums?
You know, when I talk about this in therapy and on my own podcast, my dad played professional baseball for the Dodgers. His brother played for the Astros in Houston, and his dad played for, I think, the Yankees organization. They all went to college and played ball. My mom played basketball back in the day, and our physicality was a big part of who we were growing up. So even now, as I walk through the world, literally and figuratively, my physicality, my body, the way that I present myself, the strength that I have, I still lift weights all the time and exercise because how you moved through the world physically was always, it set you up for a certain kind of ideal.
Yeah.
Which for me has meant that in my younger years, I suffered from eating disorders and I had issues with over exercising. I had a lot of things that came along negatively with that. But what came along really beautifully out of the sporting prowess of Southern California in the 80s and 90s was that I never felt like I couldn't hang with the boys or the men. I could run just as fast. I could throw just as hard. I could do whatever I needed to do and line up with the boys and the men. I was physically as strong and I was mentally as able. So I never questioned myself. And maybe that's why I've been so adept at moving through corporate life.
Sorry, but so to get through an eating disorder and that over-exercising, that sort of thing, I mean, that's a psychological, isn't it? So how was that path to wellness for you?
Oh, this could be a whole podcast on its own. So that probably started showing itself when I was about my daughter's age, 17, 18 years old. And it was in that moment of knowing that, so my parents still live in the house where I grew up. The bedroom where I grew up in still looks the same as when I left home. It was in the moment knowing that I was going to be leaving home and going away to college. And the way that I was able to have some kind of security in myself and to have some kind of routine was through exercise because I knew I was good at that. So I went off to uni at UC Santa Barbara and I spent all of my waking hours exercising because I knew how to do that. I played with the basketball team. I went to the gym. I rode my bike everywhere. So Santa Barbara is beautiful too. And I didn't even need a car the first 2 years of school there because it was just miles and miles of bike trails. But it came to the point where I was taking a sports physiology and psychology class. And I had a teacher named Art Gilbert. And Art was great because he taught us how nutrition helped fuel our bodies as athletes. But he was also big on the psychological side. And there must have been 250 people in that class. And out of the 250, he picked me out of that group and he was like, I would like to do some tests with you. And the tests that he did were things like he did this thing where he like dipped me in water to see what my body fat was and to see how big my lung capacity was. And what I realized now, looking back, was he picked me out of that crowd and he knew there was something wrong with me because I hadn't known this man from anybody. And after meeting him 2 times, he started to ask questions like, has your period stopped? How often are you exercising? What's going on? And he was the one who got me to see a doctor.
Wow.
He was the one who was like, I think these are the things that are going on with you. Here's a therapist. He was the one who my mom has often said, he saved my life.
Yeah. Wow. Sometimes you just meet the right person at the right time.
I mean, God bless that man.
Yeah.
For just seeing a girl who I thought I was hiding at pretty well.
Yeah. Extraordinary. So you moved to New Zealand about 20 years ago, is that right?
I did. I fell in love with and married my Kentucky tour guide.
As you do. As you do. Yep. Is there something, though, in that American and there's just so many vast differences, but you're almost now the big fish in a small pond. And yet there's something kind of nice. Well, see, I love America because I get to go there and I just love how mad it is and how much fun and I love the people, to be really blunt. I just think they're wonderful. No matter where you go, like it's all just so different. But then I love being unrecognised and being swallowed up in something so much bigger as well. So, was there something about New Zealand and its size that was attractive?
No.
No.
The answer really was that when my ex and I got married, well, actually, we came over here first. We had a 2-week vacation. It turned into almost 2 years. And then we went back to the States to get married and we were going to settle in California. Our daughter was born there. The guy who delivered my brother and I delivered her. Wow. It was like full multi-generational. My parents lived down the road, but his mom got sick. And so when she got unwell, we decided it was time to come back to New Zealand. And she was amazing. She was a fighter and she lasted not the 6 months we thought she'd last. She lasted 5 years.
Wow.
And by then our daughter was in school and I was navigating this. To your point, yes, at this point, 5 years on, I was navigating a corporate ladder, which because of my Americanness and because I'm not afraid to ask why? And because I wasn't caught in the tall poppy feelings that I have now taken on in the past 20 years, I know, I was able to create this really neat career that I don't think I could have created while I was in the States. And I could do that while paying my mortgage and being there for my child and being on the rugby sidelines on the weekends and doing all of these things that didn't mean nose to the grindstone at all times.
Yeah.
And I got to build a really neat network of people.
I spent some time with a European commissioner, and fascinating man, but he used to say to me, you in New Zealand have got no idea how lucky you are that you can be in very senior roles or take on big corporate roles or business because you're such a small pond. Imagine being a population of, 200 million people in Europe kind of stuff and trying to fight your way up into a few jobs, sort of at the top or where it is. And he just used to say, Kiwis just don't get it. Just don't get that the opportunity is so much closer for you than so many other places.
Oh, that's a nice way to put it, that the opportunity is closer and you can see people, I guess, who look like you and who are your friends down the street. I mean, the funny thing about having been on TV now and being a little bit more noticeable around town is that people literally call me the walking lady of the North Shore. Because I take all of my corporate calls on walks now, and half the people don't give a damn about any of the stuff that happened in the media. They're just like, oh, you're the lady that walks, and they'll wave and want to stop and have a chat. But in the States, on the other side of things, it is nice to kind of just get off the plane and disappear.
But that opportunity is close to people. I mean, I always sort of, it's a well-known story that I get bored with myself, trust me, but I was a 17-year-old solo mum on benefit to become the Deputy Prime Minister, and I go, New Zealand is extraordinary for that. I'm not extraordinary, but New Zealand is, and I grabbed the opportunity, obviously. So I'm not putting myself down on that, but this country is kind of cool like that, right?
It's phenomenal. And when I think back to the last 3 years throughout the pandemic and with the closed borders, I was one of those very lucky people who got one of the MIQ spots. Actually, I got 2. And I remember I went back in 2021 after 2 years being away from home. And I flew to Nashville, Tennessee to do some work. And I was in the back of an Uber and I had a mask on because if I caught the Rona, I couldn't come back home and do MIQ. And I remember this very Southern lady in the front of the Uber saying, oh, darling, you don't have to wear that mask here. And she started to get a little political. And I was like, hey, I live in New Zealand. And this is what's happening. And this is what I need to do to go home. And do you know, she put her mask on straight away. Wow. And she was like, well, darling, I would love for you to see your family again. So it's not a problem. And it's neat how you can really go out into the world and say, I'm from New Zealand. And there's no polarization. There's just a dampening down. And it's nice to walk through the world like that sometimes. It's a big privilege. I
was going to say, has your daughter spent much time in the US? Does she see herself as a citizen of both, or is she?
Yeah, she does.
She's a Kiwi?
Yeah, she's going to be 17 soon. And we have actually, I haven't said this out loud yet to other people, but we have her enrolled to go to her senior year of high school in America.
Wow.
So she will start her last year of high school in August at my alma mater in San Diego.
Oh, that'll be so good for her. And she'll have the Kiwi accent.
Uni over there.
She'll have the Kiwi accent and everyone will love her.
Yeah. So we're navigating that. We're navigating the terror of, first and foremost, like empty nest syndrome. And then potentially after all these years, moving home. Yeah. I'm ready to move home. I am so ready. It's time.
Wow. So you and your partner?
Yep.
All going on the big move.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things. Like, so my wife, her family are still here. My family's on the other side. Chelsea's just about 17. Chelsea's ready to just ditch us. She's like, I'll go live with grandma.
Yeah, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. And grandma's like, sure, come to me. So Carly and I are like, we're going to live this hybrid life because most of my work and most of the things that I do is here, but I'm building more work in the States from a creative side of things. And Carly's got a really lovely job at Kiwi Bank here. So Chelsea will move in August and then we'll figure out what life looks like after that.
Yeah. And as you say, your work can follow you,
Yes,
and that's the beauty. I think we've all got used to it, but yours in particular when you're so much in that digital world. Could you see yourself living permanently in the States again?
Yeah. I didn't mean to leave for so long. My brother's got 4 little girls.
Yeah.
And they're at that beautiful age between 10 and 1 where they just want to pile on all the time. So I'd love to go back and love on them. My parents are getting older. My mom turns 75 tomorrow. And I feel like I've done my time here for others, and I'm ready to go home, even though it's a big time at home. Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there sure is. Touching on that, it's so sad to read the other week about you experience abuse, really, while you're out just being the mad walking woman. You didn't say mad, though, did you? I just threw that in. So there you go.
Can they see me rolling my eyes?
Yeah, they should. But, as you're out walking, and a group of young guys literally shouting abuse at you based on what? Your sexuality or how you look? Or,
well, I say it's a tough one, but it's not. It's an easy one. And I feel like being a little bit more in the public eye now, I feel like it is an onus for me to share these things. This homophobia, being yelled at, being called names, just being out and about. It happens a lot here in New Zealand, right here in Auckland. But this day it was a little bit different because we just had some issues around our local town here. Somebody had been killed in the street, and there's a lot of angst and there's a lot of aggression. And I was walking down the road like the mad walking lady, and it was like out of a movie. Tires squealed, car stopped. I had my earbuds in because I was taking a call, and my friend in New York was like, "What are they yelling?" And she could hear what they were yelling before I could.
Wow.
And it was just the aggression. It was that shook me. And I thought, these kids aren't much older than my daughter. And my heart broke for them, Paula. It just broke. And I was like, I have to tweet about this.
You do.
I have to get a little bit angry on this one.
Yeah.
And say something. And I'm glad that the Herald picked it up and did a really great job with the story.
Me too, because it shouldn't happen to you, and we all know that. But by you speaking out, it gives other people the power to do the same and know that they're not alone. Because as you say, unfortunately, it does. We'd all like to think we're in 2023. We've moved on. Gay marriage, 10 years now, legalised. That, we can really see the kind of progress in our society. And then there's just those moments where you're just dragged back in and you just, unfortunately, you're reminded.
Well, I think what really shook me at this point in time was only a week and a half earlier. My best friend, Vanessa, who's a Kiwi who lives in the States, she and I had been to an anti-drag bill rally in Nashville, where we were looking around going, everybody here is probably packing heat. It was scary.
Yeah.
We were marching for the rights of people who don't have as many rights as us, and they lost them on that day. And I thought, well, at least I'm going home to New Zealand. I feel safe here.
Yeah.
And to feel that,
so
it was... That's right. And so we have to be vigilant. We have to stand up for each other. In the 2 weeks since this happened, the amount of people who have stopped me, and whether it's parents of gay kids or it's gay folks themselves, we've had the big gay out since, the amount of stories people have told me, I have been brought to tears a lot.
Wow.
A lot.
Wow. Well, thank you for speaking out. And I hear you on it. For me, it's more on weight loss and body shaming. And I made the choice to go public with my decision to have weight loss surgery. And there was this massive part of me, though, that just said, I really don't give a damn what anyone thinks about what I do with my body. You know what I mean? I know genuinely
Lord forbid you do what you want with your body.
I know. But then literally as close as, Friday week, I had a woman email me personally and say, by you going public, I don't feel ashamed. The shame is gone and that's the thing. And it's that same, so we do have a responsibility if we're out there a bit more. We're known for being outspoken. Well, you don't always get to pick what you're outspoken about.
That's right. And it's amazing how society does sometimes pick that for you. I came out much later in life. So I was straight married for 15 years, as I call it, and then came out at 36 years old. And I know also that there's a huge privilege in that, because there are so many times where I walk around the world and I forget that I'm a gay.
Yeah.
I forget that I'm an other. And that's why when people say, well, why do you talk about it so much? It's not a big deal unless you make a big deal. I'm like, it is. Because if you look around my house, my kid calls herself gay adjacent. Because every child walking in our door basically is LGBTQIA plus, because they know our house is safe. The amount of young men I've had conversations with about sexual health and being safe that they don't want to have with their parents. But I'm like, hey, look, here's what's going on and why you have to look after yourself. It makes it all worth it.
Man, that's massive. So did you always sense that you might be gay? Was there a little leg or not
let's say
really?
There were lots of signs.
Yeah.
Many, many signs. The way I got really weird around extra pretty girls, all of the things that add up looking back with hindsight, oh my God, yeah, of course.
So did it click for you one day, or was it, nothing happens dramatically like that, but was there that kind of realization part of you?
I think for the first time, it was when I decided that I could leave my marriage that I wasn't happy in. When I decided that I could do something for myself, then it was the first time in my life ever where I went, who am I? What actually makes me happy? What does this mean? And it was a very brief unpacking because I started dating my wife very soon thereafter, where I was finally like, oh, yeah, you're a big old gay.
Oh. And you've talked about it in the past, but that conversation with your then husband, you've described it as one of the hardest conversations that you've had. Can I just say, reading that, just how much I admire you for having the honest conversation and respectfully from what I've read. But, I genuinely thank you.
Well, I'm one of those people who think like, if you can love somebody for 15 years and you can be in a marriage and we raised a great kid, we're still doing that together. I promised him at all points, regardless of all of our imperfections, I would never say a bad word about him, especially to our daughter, because that serves nobody. He promised me the same. And I can remember we were actually just right upstairs from where I am right now. And we were both crying. And he promised me, and he said, tell me what's going on. And I told him. And he said, I will keep this for you until you're ready to tell anybody else. Wow. And he did that. And so I have a lot of respect and love for him.
Yeah. Yep. But you're a good woman for, I don't, just the way you just told it, but facing up and having that face-to-face conversation respectfully. I think it's a great role model. Great role model for your daughter, right? Great role model for others out there that are going through relationship, ups and downs, or wondering, sometimes
that's the power of life.
Yeah.
Is having the conversations and being real. That's one thing I've never had a problem with is being real and honest. Because if your intentions are there and you want to love somebody and you want to put good into the world and you want to make sure that people understand what's happening inside of you and that they are still good and valid and kind, you have to have the hard conversations. And that's hard in New Zealand. Yeah. I have found that in the last 20 years. Kiwis will smile and nod to your face, especially at work, and then go and have a conversation in the corridor. And then you find out 2 weeks later that they thought your idea was shit,
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me in the room that it was shit? Yeah. So,
mind you Americans, we're not the first times in America. Oh my goodness, what I just could not get over was the personal conversations had on buses and trains. And so for everybody to hear, and I'll never forget once, I must have been that naive Kiwi and sitting there with my mouth hanging open, and this woman went, "What are you looking at?" And I was like, I just said nothing and put my head down in shame because I was really staring. But it was just the most personal conversation. I
literally know your entire history now, Thelma. Yes. Thank you. And
I was just like, oh my goodness, there is a bit of the English in us, us Kiwis. Yep. A little bit of that fruity. Hey, it's a good time for us to wrap up this part because you've talked a bit about being honest. So let's take a quick break and then let's come back and talk about what that honesty looks like in business and how you ethically choose who you work with and stay true to your own values. Okay, Cassie, I feel like you're someone who could give advice on pretty much anything. Because, well, you could, because there is just such a huge extent to what you've done and the experiences you had. But I thought we would talk about your ability to charge through life, not compromising yourself and your values. But you started off, and you sort of said it when you were in New Zealand as well, as climbing that corporate ladder. There must have been times when you felt compromised in the corporate world that has a fairly set way of how they think things should be done, and particularly sort of 15, 20 years ago, right?
Well, actually, from a personal values and ethics perspective, I have never compromised, ever, which is probably why, if you look back at my CV, the longest job I had was for almost 3 years. And it was at Mercury Energy. And I was working for a dude called Aaron Ward. And I was at that point in my career where I could grow a little bit. But before that, I would come to these points where every year and a half, every 2 years, I would look around at the leadership and I would go, they're all just giving me, this is all just hot hair. They say they care about customers. They say they're going to utilize data and spending to make life better for people. They say. And so I would just move on to new places and go, I would like to help. And I would put into place what I could do at that time. So what I started out as was a videographer and photographer. That wasn't making a lot of money. So I went into marketing just about the time that social media happened. And because I was American, this accent does help. Yeah. And I had an American university address for my email, I could get onto Facebook and I could do all of these beta test sites like Twitter. And then when Instagram came out. And so I love this line called fake it till you become it. Every place that I went, I would go into the business and go, I think you need me. And these are the things you need me to do. These are the things that I need to integrate. This is the way we're going to look at data and the back end and all of this information. And we're going to turn it into stories. We're going to turn it into connection. And we're going to be better at helping our customers. And we're going to do better in the world. And the times that frustrated me most is when there was an opportunity to actually do good. And the business would just go, nah. And they'd make a profit and they'd put it in their pocket. And the big cats at the top would take it and my little heart would break again.
Yeah. So I suppose the first piece of advice is that where you started in this, which is the kind of head check yourself every 18 months or so as to whom you're working with, whom you're working for, and whether or not that still aligns with your values and what you really believe.
The best piece of advice I ever got on career, which also led me into this too, was from another woman in university. And she was a professor of mine. She said, Cass, when you go out into the workforce, if you look to leave a business that you're in every 2 years and then go up a different tier or to go to a different title, you will double, if not triple, your lifetime earnings. She said, men will go into a role at 80% ready. At 60% ready. Yeah. Women wait till they're 99% and they'll take that 1% to 3% pay rise a year. Their title doesn't remain the same. They get given a lot more responsibility and not a lot more money. And so it was with her, I was like, oh, everything's made up. I don't have to give a damn about people going, oh, why do you leave every 2 years? Because I want to learn more. Because now that I've worked in 15 different kinds of businesses, I am much more valuable than somebody who's been working in one place for 20 years. And I'm so glad I had this woman.
I hadn't heard it said like that before. I really like it. Because we all say that, women won't go for the job unless they can do all 10 and men will go for the job if they can only do 5 or 6. And so we all know that part of it. But you're so right. If I'm at 100% or close enough to anyway when I go in there, then actually staying on, as you say, all that happens is more responsibility, more work, longer hours, a bit of a pay bump. But the man goes in it and he's only at 60%, right? So him going up 10, he can look really good, whereas he was just stink to start with.
That's right. And imagine having the confidence of a mediocre white man and then also having the experience of a woman, which I also know, a white woman. So I understand the privilege there. But and then every 2 years going into a different kind of profession. Yeah. I can walk into almost any boardroom now, from travel to electricity to a place that's about to have an IPO year. And I can walk into a boardroom and I can feel very, very confident that I can do whatever work needs to be done because I have seen it and I have done it. And it was hard at the time, but I freaking learned. Yeah. And I could back myself.
Nice. Okay, we were talking a bit about how you stay true to yourself and your values. So what are your core values? How would you describe them?
Honesty, industriousness. I love that. Yeah. So alongside that, kindness.
Don't go into politics.
I got really drunk the last time I was at home in Tennessee on some beautiful 100 proof bourbon. And my best friend's husband's in the DA's office. And I called him real drunk. And I was like, listen, Matt, I need to become the mayor of Nashville.
Yeah. I got to do something. Yeah.
And he told everybody. Yeah. And they're pretty much like, yeah, you should become the mayor of Nashville.
Well, maybe you should. But that's different than being a member of parliament in a political party and a big one. Because, it's different. I never felt that I had to compromise my values or my ethics, but I had to compromise all of the time because you have to be a team player. You're not going to win everything. And sometimes it was just suck it up. you know?
Yep.
Now, if there was something I felt extremely strongly on, anything around moral issues, I could generally get my party to let me vote separately. And there were times when I was like one of three, right? That was more on the left. So there were times when it was pretty lonely out there, but then they accepted it and it was all right. But you had to compromise a lot. Which I tell people when they think about going into politics, I just go, make sure that your party is really true to your values and what you hold core, because that will be tested regularly.
Absolutely. From an American perspective, too, being in New Zealand, politics is a fascinating thing, too, because of the closeness as well. So when I go back to the States and people, what they wanted to talk about over the course of the pandemic was Jacinda, right? And all of the things that we did here and the way that the rest of the world, regardless of the nuance of politics here, thought that New Zealand did a freaking great job of looking after humans. And they were like, they wanted to talk about her and all these things. I was like, oh, she doesn't live that far away. Like and they're like, you've met this person? And I'm like, yeah, I think I've met all the prime ministers since I've been here. And they're like, you what? Yeah, it just doesn't. And I'm like, yes, but it's that personal thing. I don't think I could go into politics for reals, because the personal attacks, I don't know if I could handle that. So, well, you're a stronger gal than I am.
I don't know. Stumble in and then you're there. So you got to try and do some good.
Life strategy. Stumble
on in and then fake it.
Fake it till you become it. Everybody's faking it. This is the best piece of advice too I've got. Everything's made up. It's made up. Like, we go through the world worrying about imposter syndrome and being guilty about, not being there for our kids or all of the everything's made up. Yeah. You just get better at working out what really is and isn't important, don't you? So there must have been times when you have been tested. Was there a time when you just felt that you just didn't fit in, or looked at yourself and went, I'm almost trying too hard to fit in? All the time. I think all of the years where I was abjectly unhappy because I didn't allow my true self to be who I was. My hair was straight.
Oh, really?
My aura was straight.
I don't think I could imagine you with straight hair.
Right? Heels and dresses and going to corporate events and trying to hobnob and just being like, oh, I hate this. I really, really loathe this. And I love New Zealand. I've been here, 2 decades now, but I can count on one hand my good friends, because I have this American accent. Sometimes I watch the television and I'm like, I don't hear any other accents. And it's hard to be here and to constantly have translated version of myself. That's my best friend, Vanessa, who's the Kiwi living in the States. Yeah. And I'm the person from the States living in New Zealand. When we met, it was almost like kismet. It was like the world stopped and we were like, whoa, man, because we don't have to translate. We can put everything down. And that's what it is. It's a constant translation of self. So the older I get, the more comfortable I am in my own skin. But as long as you're an expat, there's always going to be a translated version of who you are. So
how do you make sure that you don't compromise those values and, that sort of core of whom you are? Do you head check yourself all the time, or is that instinct now just so immediate? Will you walk out of a meeting when you're really going for a pitch and just go, you know what, the money might be nice, but I actually don't think I can work with them?
Oh, this happens all the time. And it is exactly it's that you just said. It is the kick in the gut. If an idea or a business or anything doesn't align to my core values or where I want to go, and where I want to go in this life right now is to empower women, people of color, and the queer community to have things like equity in the media, to have equity of opportunity in arts and sports and all of these things. If they don't align with that, I'm not going to do it. Most of the work that I do now has nothing to do with business strategy, has nothing to do with brand building or advertising. It is all in corporate coaching, and I'm coaching women. I'm coaching women executives, and I'm helping women who are at the top of the game globally just see themselves as good people. Yeah. And I feel like that's what I can offer to the world right now to help. So if I go into a pitch, I already believe in it. Yeah.
Are those women that you're talking about, are they just, so many of them I meet are just exhausted. And once you sort of take a couple of those layers off, you sort of get there and they just go, it's just exhausting being on all the time and having an inner and outer battle at some level. Well,
and it is lonely.
Yeah.
It is lonely for them because especially in New Zealand and even in Australia to a similar degree, there are not a lot of women executives out there. And there are the ways that as executives, we're supposed to move through the world.
Yeah.
The way that sometimes we have to act more masculine than we want to, where gentility is seen more of a razor's edge than a welcome. It's just so nice to let them know that they're not alone. And we have 12 weeks. I go through these programs. They're 3-month programs. At the beginning of the programs, because, we're fastidious. We are executives. Every week, here's our focus. Here's our topic. Here are the subtopics we're going to talk about. By week 6, most of the women are like, oh, shit. We're just going to be going to therapy, aren't we? And I'm like, yep. This is a professional therapy session from here on out.
Wow.
And most of them end those 12 weeks with their heads held high on the inside and the outside, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, you touched on it, but that mentoring is a strong part of what you do now. And in the gay community and queer community, with those that just need someone on their side, right? And with all respect, someone with a bit of maturity and that's already raising a child and it's just like...
A bit of maturity.
Well, I can ask you things and tell you things that, I might not be as comfortable and you've probably seen it and done it.
Twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we need more, don't we? We need so much more in that community. And I mean, I've had the pleasure of knowing so many people and then interviewing on this podcast, trans community, and just knowing that there's, you talk about lonely. It's a great family, but that kind of acceptance and understanding and professional help is not always available either.
Oh, that's right. Even within the LGBTQIA plus community, everybody, it's an interesting thing where this entire group of millions and millions of people get put together and that everyone thinks you should be happy. You should all love each other. And I said, well, we are all individuals. Yeah. This one thing does not, it is something that does bind us at certain times, but it is not what makes us who we are. So
Hey, so how hard is it to be the true self when you're in reality television? Celebrity Treasure Island, we saw you be your true self when you left. We had the tears, and that, there's just no toing or froing about it. That was a very honest moment. But going into that environment, there's lots of games going on, there's stuff in the background, there's stuff we don't see, that's happening in the cameras. That must have been an interesting kind of experiment on its own, watching other people, if you like.
It was. And I was the eldest in our camp until Mike King came and did his thing. But he was only there for a night. It was fine. Yeah. But it was an interesting thing because a lot of my friends and family, when I said, I'm going to go do this thing, and they were like, you're going to what? They said, what happens if the picture you're painted or is painted of you in public looks really bad? And again, to some of the questions you've asked earlier about values and ethics, I told everybody, I'm not going to ever say anything or act in a way that isn't true. And you can't paint a picture in a light that hasn't been shown. So I actually ended up, while we were there, playing the role of when the cameras would go, I was the older sister. I was the mentor. We would go sit up under the stars. And with a lot of the younger ones, I'd go, maybe be aware of how this works. We've got story producers because they're producing stories. This is TV. So choose your words carefully. Choose your words kindly. Sure, put some stuff out there, get some social media followers. But remember, this is your homeland. This is your country. I can leave.
Yeah.
If I look like a dick, I can go.
Yeah.
But New Zealand's your home. Aotearoa is where you're from. Make sure that you are who you want to be. And they were great. I think this year for us too, we had a really interesting experience because we were locked down together for 12 days before shooting began.
Oh, that's a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we all we went up north to film. We got our press junket out of the way. We did our filming for all the promos. And then right as we were going off to film, a couple folks got COVID. So the rules at the time were you locked down for those 10 days. So we were up in Kaitaia in a motel for 10 days together. which when you're on a TV show where you're supposed to be pitted against each other, the best thing is when you don't know each other.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for the producers, we all grew to love each other. But I think very fortunately on the other side for the producers was they didn't get a cast of assholes. We played the games. We had fun, but we trusted each other and we still are all friends.
Yeah. So you must have seen some of those younger ones really reflect on themselves and who they were in that environment where you've been kind of stripped back. And Maddie McLean is very open in talking about that for himself, identifying some, if you like, teenage trauma, I'm going to call it, and then how that discovery came to him then and he was able to work on it. So you must have seen that happening where people were actually stripping back to what their values were and how to stay true to them and,
It was amazing
done
too
it,
when...
right?
Yeah. When you get hungry too, and because we were hungry, and you're losing sleep, and so Courtney became one of my best friends on and off the show. She was just the strongest player I've ever seen in any game in my life, and I've been playing sports since I was born.
Yeah,
and I just loved Court. And there was a point where I was like, okay, deep breath. It's TV. And she's just amazing. Like her brain worked in a way. It was amazing to me as an older person to watch younger people give a damn about stuff like that too, and to really care.
Yeah.
Because we hear so much about younger people in the news and how they don't care about. And it's like, wow, no, these young people do care.
Yeah.
And they are versed in understanding a different language about their emotions. When Mike and Alex had their moment on TV, that was not scripted.
No.
And we had about an hour where Alex wept and asked her dad to stay, and he didn't. And that's literally why I left.
Yeah.
Because I never wanted my child to say, Mom, stay.
Yeah.
And I'd go.
Yeah.
Changed me.
Yeah, you heard it, eh? When it comes to being true to yourself, do you think we quite often see being true to ourselves and success as things that can't go hand in hand? And how do we change that mindset?
I'm not sure if it's literally I don't think the definition is said specifically like that, but I don't think we're given good role models in society or in culture, on TV, in the media, to say that we get to define success the way we want to. And, right now for me, success is going for a walk in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's making sure my kid's happy when she gets home and we've got food on the table, the simple stuff.
Yeah.
And I've had the money, I've had the teams, I've had the travel. And I think sometimes you have to get to a point of breaking to understand that.
Yeah.
To be our authentic selves and successful, it's kind of scary because people are looking for reasons to say, well, you're broken. And I'm kind of like, yeah, we all are.
Yeah, we all are. But
I can get away with it because, again, I've got this American accent, and New Zealand is a smaller country, and people allow me to be more emotive. And it doesn't mean it's less scary, but I know that's a privilege for me. For Kiwis to show up as their true selves, I think it's very hard.
Yeah. I was always a little bit guarded. You get bitten a few times and then you just think, I've got to have a little bit of a shield on me when I was in politics. I mean, I just threw it off and, as I said earlier, aging disgracefully and got a mohawk now. But I had to actually break that off. I had to chip away at that because I just naturally put up a bit of a barrier because you let them in and a lot of people heard it.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the biggest parts of the mentoring I do is around boundaries. And one of the best definitions around boundaries, especially for women that I've seen, is, boundaries aren't walls. They're more like a shoreline. Yeah. And you get to decide who kind of basks on the beaches, who swims in the depths. And it doesn't mean to be open and authentic. You have to tell every story about every part of you. It just means you do have to be open to being vulnerable and sharing enough that other people feel like, okay, I'm going to be okay here.
Okay, it's time that you get to ask me something because, that's how it goes. So you can ask me anything.
Okay. I want to know how you define happiness.
Well, on some days I think happiness, snappiness, and we don't all have to be bloody smiley and roses and everything's great. I agree with you on the fake it, get that. But actually it's okay to not be okay. And that took me a while to get there. It's like, God, if I'm not happy, then something is happening. It's like, well, actually, sometimes I'm just not that happy, And that's actually all right in its context. And then you learn how to get yourself back to wellness. So, look, I'm the same as everyone. It's my family. It's my time. It's my dog that I'm obsessed with. I love to work. So I love people. It's a big part of my happiness. I don't think there's anything that's sort of exceptional in it. It's just, but yeah, I'd had to learn that actually you don't always have to be happy.
And I think simplicity is exceptional.
Yeah.
Time, connection, love.
Yeah.
Puppies.
I can be sad. I can be angry. I can be,
They exist. There's a duality. There's no dark without the light.
Yeah.
But we're taught that you get one or the other, and it's like they exist in a gray area at all times. You can be mourning somebody you love and still laughing at a really raunchy joke. Like, they exist at the same time.
Well, Cassie, I have learned so much today, and I have absolutely loved chatting to you. I have met you a couple of times, but it has been one of those great pleasures in life for me to have spent this bit of time with you. So thank you so, so much. If they want to hear more from you, how can they find you?
Find me on the socials. I am an elder millennial. So at Cassie Roma on any of the socials, or LinkedIn, or my email is hello@cassieroma.com.
Fantastic. And that's it for another episode of Ask Me Anything. You can get in touch with me by emailing askpaula@nzherald.co.nz. Send me through your thoughts, your questions for the podcast. You'll find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Probably not as good as posting as Cassie, but make sure you follow Ask Me Anything on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also read my weekly column in the Herald on Sunday. I'm Paula Bennett. Ask Me Anything. Goodbye.